I want to thank you all for joining us today for How to Develop Your Team. And I would like to send a special welcome to Chris Johnson because she said this is her first webinar. So thank you for joining us, Chris. So when we're talking about how to develop your team, I want you all to type in what are some of the things you think you need to know when we talk about team development. So what do you think you need to know in regards to team development? So go ahead and type that in, and so we can kind of. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Mr. Chris Johnson. Welcome, Mr. I do apologize for that. And so when you're thinking about team development and developing your team, some of the things that you may need to know about the group or about, I see a couple of people typing in, so I don't want to give the answers just yet, so I'll give you all a couple of more seconds to go ahead and type that in. Doing it from a distance, okay, yes, that can be a challenge, most definitely. And I see some other people typing. Well, I have a lot of typers typing. It says multiple attendees are typing. So when we're thinking about developing that team, getting everyone on the same page, exactly, Wilma. Know your team's levels of knowledge and personalities. That's perfect, Kathy. That is. We're definitely going to talk about that today in this seminar. And knowing those different levels is essential. So when we're talking about team development, the things that you want to know is, one is yourself. So you want to have that self-awareness. And if you have attended some of our other sessions this month, our leadership sessions, you are given that opportunity to take the leadership report. And we will have that opportunity at the end of this one as well. How people work under pressure, that's excellent. And do they prefer one task at a time? And that's perfect because that moves us to our next step, knowing the individual. So you want to know the people that are on your team. So I need to know, who is a multitasker, who is more methodical, who likes a lot of direction, or who likes a lot of autonomy. So you want to also understand the individual on the team as well as the role that they're playing. We all have a role. And then we also want to know about the stage that we're in. Because when we're talking about team development, there are 4 different stages. So you want to know about the stage that you're in. So when we talk about the first stage is going to be forming. And then as a leader, we all have a role in each of these stages. So the leader's role in the forming stage is telling. And we're going to break these down further as we go through the presentation. The second stage is storming, and your role as a leader is selling. So at that point, you can kind of tell that you're trying to sell this dream that we have going on, that this team is dynamic and wonderful. So you're selling that to the team members. And then the third stage is norming, and your role there is participating. So at this point, they're norming, so they kind of feel like a well-oiled machine. They're kind of going along. So you're just kind of there as as somebody that's going to participate in. You don't necessarily have to lead them as much. And then performing, and this is delegating. So your role at that point is delegating. And as you can see in the middle, there's a circle, meaning that you can go in and out of these stages. When you have someone new come onto the team, you may go all the way back to the storming stage, or you may come in at the norming stage, and there may be things that happen or issues that come up that takes us back to another stage. So that's why that circle is in the middle, because it can go round and round. You may not stay at the performing stage, even though that's the last stage and that's the stage that we want to get to. You may go back sometimes if something happens and some external factors that happen in the group that causes people to kind of backslide a little bit. So let's talk about that first stage. And that first stage again is forming. And think about it as this is the first day of school. And how did you feel on the first day of school? Some of you may have been really excited, like I get to wear my new dress, I have my new tennis shoes, I can't wait, I have my new khakis on. Or some may have been a little anxious, like I'm nervous, what if nobody sits with me at lunch? I don't want to be the only person at the lunch table. I don't want to be the last one that gets picked for, games or in PE. And then others would have been concerned that, are they going am I going to be at the same level as everyone else? Am I going to be smart enough to hang with them, or am I going to be considered one of the cool kids and get to hang at the cool kids table? And so that's the same thing that happens when you're building teams, when you're bringing someone new onto the team. There could be some anxiousness because do their experience and understanding matches what everyone else has, especially if you're bringing someone new to the team. Just imagine if, I'm a military brat, so I am used to being the new kid on the block every school year, going to a different school and having to, start this process over again. But imagine if you're the new person coming in and this team has been, they've been a team for 10 years. That can be a little daunting because it's like, oh my goodness, they already have a great synergy and I'm coming in and I want to be a help to the team. So that's why this stage is called the forming stage. So when we think about the characteristics of the forming stage, it's basically everyone is assessing each other. Even if there's a new person coming on, everyone else on the team is assessing them. Like, is this person going to, be able to handle everything that we're going to give them? Do they have the same quality that we are used to here? Sometimes with individuals, especially if they have a high attention to detail. And if some of you all have taken our assessment already, that leadership report, that detail piece falls into column 8. So if you're that tall, column 8, a high attention to detail, making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, column 8, they have a harder time delegating because they want to make sure that everything is done accurately, everything is done perfectly. So when a new person is coming on, they are assessing to ensure, like, I don't know if I really want to give them this task. I'm not for sure if, I want to share my work with them, because if they don't do it right, I don't want to get called on the carpet for not being accurate. And so with this characteristic, and also in this stage, you're concentrating on the parallels. So you're concentrating on what lines up, what's exactly the same, what's different. And you also may have lower productivity because the reason we brought this new person on the team is because there's a lot of work to do. And if the team members are not utilizing this new person, well, the productivity is still going to remain the same. So we're not going to have a higher productivity even though we have this newer person, because the team members aren't necessarily delegating. Also, you're going to have a lower productivity. Let's just say if it's not one new person, let's say it's a whole new group that's coming together. Because we're doing that assessing, because I don't really know what your skill set is, what your knowledge is, I'm not going to be we're not going to have a lot of team synergy because everybody is still kind of in a silo. We're still, being our own individual selves, and we all know that we can work better together than work apart. So during this forming stage, you may see some of that lower productivity. Team members may not have a clear idea of what to expect and what they will accomplish. So there's nervousness. So there's some nervousness. The team leader will be influential and perhaps be the person that's making many of the decisions at this stage. So your role as a leader is to provide the what, the how, the when, the where. We are going to be looking to you as the leader in regards to give us direction, because we've just come together. We are these, let's say, for example, we are these 4 individuals. And now you are the unifying factor of us 4. So you're going to need to tell us some things. And so your role, and that's why we call the leader's role telling in this stage, because it's mainly going to be a one-way communication in which the leader is going to define the roles of the individuals or the group and provide the what, the how, the when, the where, and the why about this particular task. Now, I know some of you all did take that leadership report, and so when we're talking about, giving us the how, the where, the what, the when, the why, depending on this team, not all teams want exactly, the minute detail of everything. Like, I want you to take 10 steps and then get the coffee filter, put the coffee filter in the machine, hit the drip button. And so some people on your team won't necessarily need that much direction, but there are some people that will. So that's why this forming stage is we're kind of trying to figure this out. How much direction do I need to give? How much leeway do I need to give them? So in this stage, you don't expect high productivity. It's more of like, let's say this is the getting to know you phase. So, you've put your ad out there online and now you're taking offers. So, you're kind of texting back and forth, who are you? What do you do? So this is the getting to know you phase, if you want to think about it that way. So now let's move on to the next phase. And the next phase is the storming phase. And this is the stage that causes most angst because, as you can see by the word storming, that doesn't necessarily sound like it's going to be happy times and happy days. And this is truly one of the harder stages because now we're trying to mesh these. We're trying to mesh all of these personalities, all of these behaviors together. And there's 17 different behavioral types. And so we're trying to get those, that mix together. And all of the behavioral types that we have 17 here, have their strengths and they have their challenges. So we just want to kind of help them manage through their challenges and highlight them and highlight their strengths. This stage is basically referred to as teen adolescence. And if any of you all have kids, you will say, yes, that is a perfect name for the storming stage. As a member of the group, as members of the group work together, they become more comfortable voicing their own opinion, and they may not agree with either the team leader or the other members. So the characteristics of this stage is the rivalry, the conflict, apprehension, and discord. Because remember the forming stage, oh, I'm kind of nervous, I'm the new kid, I'm just getting to know people here, so I'm not as comfortable saying exactly what I feel and how I feel about it. Now we've kind of passed that stage. So I've gotten to know you, and now I'm going to talk about the things that I don't really love, the things that I'm not just enamored of about you because I'm comfortable. We all talk about with your best friends or things like that. You're really comfortable with your best friend. You all can talk and have that conversation. You can tell them things. You can disagree with them. And because you have that bond that, we know that we're not going to, just go apart and never see each other again or not talk to anyone again. It's because we have that bond. So during the storming stage, the team has created that bond, but now we're going to have some conflict. So your role as a leader is going to be more pronounced in this stage, and you're going to have to really kind of get in there and explain, sell, and consult. There's often disagreements and conflicts with little cliques forming and alternate goals being suggested during this stage. So I thought we would do a little exercise in regards to conflict. So let's say that this is a conflict that we're having within our group. So Jeff is a producer and wants more advertising to increase brand recognition. So Jeff is the salesperson in our group, and he wants more advertising, so he wants some more money. And Wendy, she's in our marketing, so she handles the brand recognition piece, and she has to manage costs. We all have a budget, and Wendy has her budget, and she can't go over her budget. And so Wendy tells Jeff, we won't be increasing the marketing budget. So there's no more money to give. I'm doing all, and I'm giving her all she's got, Captain. So she's given everything that she can. And Jeff is not happy. This has led to some personal conflict and attacks, and there's tension in the office. And guess what you have to do, leaders? You have to figure out how we can get this to work, because this will happen during that storming stage. Because Jeff and Wendy feel they've been working together, they know each other's jobs and their responsibilities. So now Jeff is very comfortable with going to Wendy saying, I am not happy. This is not going to work for me. You all want me to make money, but you're not giving me the tools to do it. And so Jeff and Wendy, they come boom, 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 knocking on your door. You're the leader. So let's talk about how we're going to help this. How are we going to help them? So when we're talking, so now during this stage, you want to have a resolution plan. So we want to have that explain, sell, and consult. So we need to explain something, we need to sell something, consult something. So in the chat box, go ahead and give me a couple of little things that you would try to do to help Wendy and Jeff. And so I'll go ahead and put the scenario back up there about Jeff as the salesperson. So what are some of the things that as a leader you could do to help Jeff and Wendy kind of come together in regards to this? Because during this storming stage, this is when you're going to have to bring out your conflict resolution. And we have actually done a whole webinar. If you go to our YouTube page or follow us on Facebook or LinkedIn, you can link into our YouTube page, and there's some links at the end of the presentation where you can see our whole presentation or our whole webinar on conflict resolution. And so this is one of those, this is part of that. This is that storming stage. Where can we move funds from one place to another to make things work? There I see Chris compromise with other areas. Yes, so we're talking about the compromising, and but we have no more money, but compromise is good. Trying to look at other avenues is wonderful. Let's try to see what we can do to make things happen. Both of those are excellent. I see some more people typing in regards to trying to help Jeff and Wendy out of this precarious situation, because we want to make everybody happy, or we want everybody to work well together and see each other's point. And yes, definitely, when we're talking about do what you can. Have them explain more details to each other about what they need and why Wendy can't make it happen. So Jeff, that is exactly right, Julie. You want to see the other person's point. So in that leader's role, when we're talking about explaining, we want to explain what's going on. So that is, and then brainstorming. I think Julie has seen our conflict resolution webinar, because that is exactly how we talk about, explain to each other, coming up with brainstorming to find the resolutions. So those are all exactly how we would handle this. So what you want to do is kind of have Jeff and Wendy, Jeff says his piece, Wendy explains her point, and then we have that brainstorming session. You have it, well, Julie, wonderful. Well, you can skip that webinar because you have another. We have plenty of other webinars on there as well, but Julie can skip the conflict resolution. She gets the A+ for that one. But so when we're thinking about that resolution plan, you want to come up with a plan in regards to help them move forward, because we don't want to stay in that storming stage. So after we've given them a chance to explain, to sell, and consult, now we actually come up with the plan. So this is the plan that we've come up with, where the action that we're going to, and you want to look at it this way, and you want to write it down, because we all know if we don't write things down, like the resolutions that we're going to make in 2017, that we're going to do X, Y, Z, if we don't write it down, if we don't have an accountability buddy, it's sometimes we won't even make it past February with the resolution. But this is just a quick example of what we could do in regards to that Wendy and Jeff situation to get us from that storming stage to move us on to the next stage. For example, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to attend more networking events. And we have to say, okay, who's going to do that? So Jeff is going to take ownership of that. And how are we going to do that? He's going to research some more events. So he's going to talk about, he's going to look up, he's going to Google where there's some networking events, get with the chamber to see exactly where, where they may have some happy hour events going on. And then let's just look at something that Wendy's going to do. She's going to increase posting on social media. And then Wendy's going to create a library of articles and blogs for quick posting. So when, so instead of having to think of something on the fly, when we need to post something, we need to update our Facebook, and Wendy has to try to crank something out, Wendy's going to go ahead and start creating that library for us. And then they're going to follow up and meet quarterly and to discuss that upcoming quarter events and create a marketing plan for that quarter of some special events, maybe, the Heart Walk, or, or some type of foundation or community event that they can get involved in. So that's kind of how you work through during that storming stage, because we don't want them to stay there. We don't want our team to stay in that rivalry conflict stage, because we want them to move to the next stage. And that next stage is norming. And this is the stage that a lot of groups will stay in. The norming stage is often referred to as the young adult for the team. Meaning, this is like, you're in your late 20s, early 30s. You kind of know who you are. You're feeling comfortable. You kind of have a routine of what your life looks like. It kind of looks like what, how your future is going to be. That is the norming stage. And the characteristics of that is that people now are celebrating those differences. For example, if we have someone on our team that is someone that is a multitasker, that likes that variety, that strives to get things done quickly. And if you've taken our leadership report, that's the column 5. And then we also have someone on our team that's methodical and routine oriented and likes to complete one task before moving on to the next. Well, now if we have both of those, I celebrate that, because I am that multitasker. I'm that taller column 5, but I have a teammate that is a taller column 6. I appreciate her 6. I appreciate her being that more methodical type of individual, because sometimes there are some long range projects that are kind of repetitive, and they require very solitude type time, and she is wonderful at that. And I appreciate that I have someone on my team that I can kind of give that to her, and she appreciates that I am someone that is always there and available to pick up the phone, to answer an email, so she doesn't get interrupted. That's how you start having that well-oiled machine. That's when you start creating that synergy. Or you have someone on your team that's very assertive, that can handle more of the escalation type of calls, and then you have someone that is helpful, supportive behind the scenes, that can kind of build that infrastructure that helps that team, to build that team up, to keep that team stable and supported. And so we start appreciating those. Like, for example, your sales team starts appreciating your service team when they go out on presentations, and and people are glowing about how great the service is. That's basically kind of selling it. The service team has helped you sell that prospect, because people are going on and on about how great your company is. So then we start creating that team synergy and emerging trust, because now I know that her quality of work is the same as mine. I know if I ask her, Cynthia, can you handle this call for me, because I'm doing something else, I don't have to go back and double check and say, Cynthia, did you call that client? I already know Cynthia's done that. So now that's going to increase the productivity, because I'm not wasting time going back and double checking the work or the assignment that I asked Cynthia to help me with, because I already know she's gotten it done, she's covered, and it's good. And so with that, and she knows the same thing about me. So in this norming stage, this is why a lot of teams kind of stay in this phase, because this is a great phase. This is a great stage to be in. If we could stay in this stage, it would be wonderful. And so your role as a leader is to listen, encourage, and facilitate, because at this point the team is kind of running on its own. This is how shared decisions, making about aspects of how the task is accomplished. The leader is providing fewer task behaviors while maintaining a high relationship behavior. So you're not, in the other stage, especially in that first stage, that forming stage, you were really telling them the what, the when, the how, the where. And so you were delegating tasks like, Tanya, you do this. Cynthia, you do this. Now we know what our strengths and challenges are as a team. So I don't have to go to, my manager and say, okay, this needs to be done. Who should do this? I don't know who, I don't know who should handle this call or who should handle this project. At this point, when we're in this stage, we know who needs to handle it, because we know the strengths of this team. And so your role is really just being more of the person that's going to participate, kind of putting out some fires that may crop up, But you're really there just to facilitate and kind of be the vessel to make things happen. So now you've become more of the operational manager, just making sure the day to day is getting done. And then when we move on to the next stage, in the next stage, this is like the holy grail of stages, meaning it's the performing stage. And these are the mature adults. Now we're in our golden, our silver years, and we are enjoying life because we don't even really have to think about it too much. It's like second nature to us. It just kind of happens, like, sometimes when you're driving and you're like, I don't even know how I got here. I don't even remember making that turn. It's because you have done that commute for 15, 20 years and you just kind of arrived there. It's like, I don't even remember turning down that street. We're in the performing stage. And with the performing stage, that the characteristics are balanced, seamless, and highly productive. They have skills. They know their own strengths and limitations. They have a good deal of problem solving abilities. And by now, they have figured out who does what, where, and what makes the team effective, and how they work well together. So, like I said, it is just seamless. Your role as a leader is really just delegating and monitoring the progress. As the leader, you're still involved in regards to decisions. However, the process and the responsibilities have been passed to the individual or the group. The leader stays involved, just to monitor the progress. This is where, you may not have to have the weekly meetings that you used to have. Because, maybe you can go out to a monthly meeting or a quarterly meeting because we don't have to meet every single week, every single day, because the team is highly functioning. And when you have a highly functioning team, you don't necessarily want to beat it down or demotivate it by having a daily meeting. Maybe you can stretch that out some. So think about your team, because now they're performing, because really you are there just to monitor the progress. You don't necessarily have, this is as a leader, you're on easy street right now when you're at this stage. Now remember, as I said earlier, things can kind of come up and we could go back to another stage, but this is the stage that you want to get to. This is where you want to be. And not all teams will make it. Some teams will stay in the norming phase, but you do want to get, if possible, you want to get to that performing stage. And that just comes from maturity and having the tenure of the team just working together longer and longer. You'll create that bigger synergy and get to that performing stage. So when we're thinking about the stages of team development, there's four, and then it's also you have four pieces in those stages, in each of those stages as well. Then we look at talking about team development, we look at what creates that team development. So what creates all of this goodness in this team synergy? The first piece is that they have to have commitment to the mission and vision. When you are building that team, when you are creating that team, when you're trying to develop that team, make sure that everyone has the commitment to the mission and vision. Because if everyone has that commitment, then we're all working towards the same goal. That's what you want in the team. We want everybody on the same page, working towards the same end game. And the way that starts is with trust. And then next we have the communication. And then we talk about the collaboration. Next is empowerment. Then it's the adaptation. And lastly, it's accountability. And we're going to break down each of these individually. Many experts agree that trust is perhaps the most important element of a harmonious, synergy-filled, and efficient work environment. Like a relationship, without trust, you have nothing. And then communication, if we're not on the same page and we're not speaking the same language, that's definitely going to be a deal killer. Mean what you say. Members trust that when a colleague agrees to return a telephone call, read a report, talk to a customer, attend a meeting, or change a behavior, the job will get done. You want to ensure that we are all focused on the shared rather than the personal goal. So with that commitment to mission and vision, we want to ensure that we're all going down that same path. And when we talk about trust, Your actions need to match your words. The meaning that if I say that I have an open door policy, I truly need to have an open door policy. I can't just have my door open, but people know. Yeah, Tanya says she has an open door policy, but did you see her face this morning? Yeah, this is not a good day. Today is not the day to go, go into Tanya's office. And then you also want to ensure that you have the shared versus the personal motivation, that we are all on one accord. We can definitely be individually motivated, meaning those column ones of our profile, they are me focused, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are not working towards the mission and vision statement, that they're not working towards the goal. So you want to find out, one, what is their personal motivation, and then kind of incorporate that into how, if they get what they want and need, how that's going to benefit the team so the team can get where it needs to be. So you want to have those conversations in regards to what their personal motivation is, as well as what the shared motivation is. The second piece of this team development is communication. When we talk about communication, I would say, probably for me, it's the most important thing. It is, and it's not just an exchange of information. It's about understanding the emotion, the intentions behind that information. And so you want to make sure that you're open and honest. Members must be able to say what they think, ask for help, share new or unpopular ideas, and risk making mistakes. So if we're going to have this open, honest communication, I can't be afraid to say something. You can't be, you can't be that leader that it's my way or the highway, and I don't take, and I don't talk or listen to anyone else. That's not going to help build that team up. You want to make sure that you acknowledge them, for sharing, and reward valuable input that helps the company. So that's how you keep that motivation. That's how you create that team synergy. That's how you develop that team into a well-oiled machine. You also want to allow each team member to have their say, whether it's about a conflict like we did with Wendy and Jeff, or misunderstandings, or if it's a great idea they want to propose. It's the best way to work together. If a team cannot establish specific times to actively listen, your leadership responsibility is to step in and coach. So you have to facilitate, and coach that team through those sessions where each person can have that opportunity to be heard. So during that conflict that we had with Wendy and Jeff, your role was to make sure that everybody has their active listening skills on, that we are being engaged, looking at the person eye to eye. We're saying, we're mirroring back what we've heard to ensure that there's not any miscommunication. So you want to ensure that when we're talking about team development, that everyone feels like their voice is being valued and their voice is being heard in the situation, or even if it's not a situation, just on that team when we're brainstorming, when we're having ideas, a think tank, make sure that everyone is being heard. The next part is collaboration. Leaders can facilitate cooperation by highlighting the impact of the individual members on team's productivity and clarifying their roles. You want to clearly define these roles, because if I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, then how do I know if I'm doing it right? So you want to ensure that everyone knows what their role is in team when we're talking about our teams. Are you the one that is going to take lead on the Excel spreadsheets? Or are you the one that's going to handle the escalation calls? Or maybe you're going to be our benchmarking specialist here, like Cynthia, because she is great with doing the analytics of taking a deeper dive into our clients' positions to make sure that their star performers, that they are benchmarking their star performers, and future candidates are being scored against those. So looking at those numbers, crunching those getting those composites, we want to make sure that everyone understands the importance of that role, of their role, and then also ensuring that everyone else knows what everyone's role is. So we're not doing double work and no one feels like their toes are being stepped on. You also want to meet regularly because you want to keep resources and communication flowing. So I shouldn't go a whole year and not have a meeting with my team, even if your team is, four people and you all see each other every morning and say good morning and we have, little powwows in the hallway. You still want to meet at some point. We still need to have some type of regular meetings because while, for example, Cynthia and I may have had a great conversation about a client or what we found out, if we didn't tell the other members on our team, Marissa or Joanna, now Marissa and Joanna have been left out. They don't have the golden nuggets that Cynthia and I came up with. So you still want to meet at some point. You don't necessarily have to meet every day. It might not be every week. Maybe it's a monthly meeting. Maybe it's a quarterly meeting. But you still want to meet at some point, even if your group is really small, because we have a four-person CA team, and we do see each other every day. And if something happens, we'll go talk to that person in the office and say, this is what I found out, or this is what I heard, this is what I uncovered. And so that's great, but we want to be able to bring that to the rest of the group. But we don't have to meet every week because we do see each other often. But you do want to have some type of regular meeting so to kind of review the progress of the team, listen to their questions, and address any uncertainties about projects or roles that may have come up. So that's the benefit of those regular meetings. The next piece of this puzzle of team development is empowerment. You want to encourage correctable mistakes. Many employees, by their very nature, are risk averse. And if the boss is always correcting them before they have a chance to execute, they will constantly look for approval. If you want to truly empower your people, you can't keep correcting them before they even had a chance to make a mistake, because why am I even going to take a chance? Why am I even going to, make a move or kind of be proactive, because Tanya's just going to tell me no, or she's just going to say that I did it wrong, so I'm just not going to do it. And so we don't want that to happen. So we want to give them some rope, to kind of chart their own way, to try to see if they can figure it out. Just like if you have kids, your teenagers, you don't want to hold them so tight. You do have to start giving them an allowance, let them kind of figure out their budget for the week and kind of doing those little things to help them grow. And that's the same thing you're going to do with your team. You want to give the employees the opportunity to try new things in a way that doesn't put the company in danger. I'm definitely not saying let's just let them do whatever they want and then let the lawsuits come. No one wants to get sued. That's definitely not what I'm saying. But you do want to allow them some opportunity, some leadway. Your employees will then gain understanding and feel comfortable in being innovative. And sometimes with our companies, we need to have that fresh eye, that fresh blood. And sometimes that's so great when you have a new team member come into your organization, because they're seeing things with fresh eyes, because we have been doing this for 30 years and we've been doing the same thing for 30 years. Someone comes in and they are like, well, why do we have it like this? And they start questioning that. And that can lead to improvements, to efficiencies that we can make. And now everything is running a little bit better. So definitely when you have a new team member come in, or when you're creating that new team, listen to those ideas, because they're looking at it through fresh eyes. And sometimes while we think that we have the greatest thing, the greatest processes in place, some person with that new eye can look at it and that's just kind of like a light bulb, like, wow, why didn't we think of that? Like, what, when I'm looking at Shark Tank, I think all the time, well, why didn't I come up with that idea? That just seems so, like, duh. It was right there the whole time. Why didn't I think of that? That's because they were looking at it from fresh eyes, and I was only looking at it my one way. So you want to let them have those, provide opportunities for correctable mistakes. And then you also want to give them, offer them information. Basically, we just want to appreciate their efforts. Most leaders carry a lot of information in their brains. We carry a lot. We think about a lot. We have a lot of things going on. Great leaders figure out how to extract that important information from their brains and their minds and share it in a structured and consistent manner. You as a leader, you have a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience. Now it's time to share that information with your people. And employees who clearly understand the core values, purpose, and direction of the company can easily make and take appropriate actions at any junction. So you want to ensure that you're imparting that knowledge. Don't keep it hidden. It's a gem. Let it shine. And then basically, you just really want to appreciate everyone's efforts. So when we're talking about empowerment, yes, it's true that people get paid for the job. You got your paycheck, you should know that you're doing a great job. But the best employees don't work at your company just for the money. They're working because they enjoy the company, they enjoy that mission and vision statement. The next one is the adaptation. And so that means plan ahead. You don't want to overcommit. You want to, have a plan B. Multitasking, which I am one of, and there's probably a lot of people on this call that are multitaskers. And if you want to know if you're a multitasker, you're the one that right now is probably checking your email or sending a text. So, talking about you, come on back. Multitasking definitely has its advantages, but don't take on too much or set yourself up with unrealistic goals and expectations. It's all very well to have those stretch goals. We definitely want to have those goals that make us stretch a little bit, but we don't want to stretch so much that we break. That's also in regards to your people. You want to ensure that we're not breaking our people by, giving them these goals that can't possibly be attained. So you want to ensure that we are double checking that our employees are not burning out, that we're not giving them too much. And you can do that by having that priority checklist. List the tasks that the person may need to get done and then classify them in order of importance, impending deadlines and the like, whatever that case may be. So for example, if you have to, if in your office, if according that you need to answer emails in 60 minutes, voicemails in 30 minutes, let that be known. Communicate that to your people. Now, when I get a voicemail, I know that trumps an email, or it may not be that way. It may be something by subject matter. If someone's calling in to do an address change, that may not trump someone calling in to file a claim or to make a payment. So having that type of priority checklist is beneficial in regards to helping your team, creating that synergy, making sure that everybody knows their roles and the stages that they're in. Learning to recognize when a particular task is too important that you need to put multitasking on hold, give it your undivided attention. Understanding that sometimes we live in a multitasking world because if I send you an email, I know that you've probably gotten it, 5 ways to Sunday. You've gotten it on your phone, your iPad, you got all these type of reminders dinging you. We live in a column 5 or a multitasking environment, but some things are very methodical. Some things are column 6 type of task. Understanding that, recognizing that, and then setting aside some time to complete it in a column 6 or a methodical type way. It's very beneficial. And then lastly, we talk about the accountability. People need to know when they are meeting expectations, and more importantly, when they're not. Set expectations, invite commitment, measure progress, provide feedback, link them to consequences, and evaluate effectiveness. Accountability is not a bad word. If I am not being held accountable, then that means I can come in at 9:30, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and Cynthia, she's at her desk working at 8:30. Cynthia's going to start getting upset. She's going to start getting demotivated. Like, why am I here working so hard at 8:30 if Tanya's just coming in all willy-nilly whenever she wants to and nothing happens? Tanya still gets to keep her job. Tanya still has her paycheck just like I have my paycheck. And And so now you're going to start losing some of that productivity. One, you got Tanya coming in only working half days all the time, and you have Cynthia over here not being motivated. So if Cynthia's not motivated, she's definitely not giving 110%. So accountability is not bad, because with accountability, now you have Tanya coming in for her full 8 hours, and you have Cynthia over there working at 110% every day. So you want to invite the commitment. You want to get that commitment. Just because your employers know what to do doesn't mean that they will do it. After goals and expectations are set, employees need to commit to achieving them. Yes, I know I need to do this. Now we have to make sure that people are doing it. So we have to hold our people accountable. Employees are more likely to do this when they understand two things. They want to understand how the goal will benefit them personally. So it's basically, what's in it for me? And then two, how the goals will help move the organization forward. Like, why am I doing this? So it's about, what's in it for me, what's in it for the organization. The employee needs to know those two things when we're setting goals. So when you're thinking about setting goals, also inform them of those two things. That will help the buy-in. That will help them get on board in regards to what we need to do. Once this connection is made, they are more likely to work towards that goal and actually welcome you holding them accountable for the results. They will welcome that. You know why? Because they're doing it, because they understand why I need to do it and how this is benefiting the company. So now the accountability is not that bad, because okay, I'm doing it, and so that means when my boss calls me into her office, I'm going to get a gold star because I'm doing it, and so that's going to add to me doing it the next time. The next thing is you want to link to rewards and benefits. Sometimes employees need a little extra external motivation. I know people are like, you got your paycheck. You know you're doing a great job. That should be your reward. But sometimes we need something else to live up to those commitments. When we're struggling to reach those goals, they can help by administering appropriate consequences. But when they're hitting them, we want to, reward them for doing it, for making it, for creating, for hitting that goal that we've created. So while accountability works both ways, we're holding you accountable, and there are consequences when you don't make it. We are holding you accountable and giving you rewards when you do make it. And when we think about rewards, it's not always necessarily about money, because if you're Wendy, you're already going to tell me we have no money in the budget for expenditures and for kudos. So we have to get creative, just like we did with Jeff. So in regards, it could just be a special parking lot. Maybe it's a special note signed by the CFO or by the senior leadership team. Or maybe, they get to leave maybe an extra hour early on Friday, or they get to wear jeans, or they have a dress down day, something like that. So it's not necessarily monetary, but something to acknowledge that we had a goal and you hit it. Congratulations, great job. So you want to think about these things when we're talking about team development. We want to have that trust. We want to have that communication. We want to have that collaboration, and we want to have that adaptation, empowerment, and accountability. We need to have those things in regards to team development when we're developing that team and trying to create that synergy and that well-oiled machine. But some of the things that we don't want, that we want to make sure that we are avoiding. So caution, red light, flag on the play, is showing favoritism. As a leader, we must strive never to make our employees sense that we have a preference. Now, I know there are some people in your organization that you manage, because I know when I was a manager, they were just a lot easier. It was just easy to manage them. And so you just kind of leaned on them a little bit more. But no one in your organization should know, or no one on your team should know, that you have a golden child. Now, in your mind, you may think, oh, Cynthia's just so wonderful. Cynthia's just so great. She comes in on time. Oh, that Tanya, she's always late, causing me problems. But as a manager, I can't show favoritism to Cynthia. I have to treat Cynthia and Tanya the same way. Now, treating them the same way does not mean that I'm not calling Tanya out for coming in late. That's totally different, but I can't show favoritism. If your team members begin to notice that you prefer some people over the others, that will discourage them and they will become unmotivated. Your team will stay in that storming phase. They won't move past that because that creates conflict. Because think about, if you have two kids, you like them better than me, you gave them a bigger piece of the cake than I did. You're going to stay in that stage. You're going to stay in that adolescent, young stage. Next is doing most of the tasks yourself. As a leader, as a manager, we have to delegate. And if in some leadership styles that we have, it's a little bit harder for them to delegate because they just don't want to do it. I'd rather just do it myself than have it done wrong. But we have to delegate. If you're not delegating, you are missing the point of a successful team. Delegating is essential for your business, particularly when in building a successful team, because you can't do it all yourself. You have to let your team flourish. You have to let them grow. And then being overly ambitious. You need to take things bit by bit with your team members. We can't go from forming to performing. You have to go through those stages. We are not just going to trust and communicate perfectly right off the bat. You have to go through the stages and understand each other and read the Omnia profile in regards to who you are and things like that to get that self-awareness, to get that understanding. This will affect future target goals negatively if you're too ambitious. If you're trying to reach for the pie in the sky every single time and we can't make it, that's going to demotivate the team. You need to ensure that the goals that you have in place are attainable, but not easily attainable. I mean, we're not saying if you all can make it to the fax machine, we are going to have 3 days off. We're going to have a 3-day weekend. No. I mean, it's not like that, but you do want to have that stretch goal. Like if we can attain a 10% increase over last quarter, we will, there will be some type of kudos, some type of a prize or congratulations. So people generally do not like repeating negative experiences. So if we keep not making it because the goal is too hard, then people will not attempt to try anymore. And then lastly, the assumption that everybody is the same. This is an individual sport. Even though we're talking about a team and there's no I in team, there are individuals on a team. So you want to make sure that we're motivating and communicating with them as individuals. In essence, people with different skills, temperaments, and learning curves will be on the same team. When you build a team, that is what you want. I don't want 5 Cynthias on my team. I don't want 5 Tanyas on my team because now I have 5 strengths and 5 challenges that are exactly the same. But now if I add Cynthia and Marissa and Joanna and Tanya, now I have 4 people with all of these 4 different strengths, 4 different challenges, and now I've created a great team that works well together because my strength is someone else's challenges and someone else's challenges are my strengths. And that's what you want. So you want all of these different behaviors, but your job as a leader is to make sure that these behaviors kind of come together. And it's kind of like a melting pot where everything comes together to make a great recipe, to make a great dish, to make a great product, to have a great service. So you want to make sure that we are using them as, speaking with them and talking to them as individuals, but making sure that they know that they're a team. And the way we do that is by everybody being committed to that mission and vision statement. This is trust is the essence of teamwork. When a team really works, the players trust one another. When we're talking about communication, effective communication is always a two-way street. Understanding how they give and receive information is essential. That collaboration. Most challenges in the workplace today require much more than a good solo performance. We have to depend on one another. Sales can't make it without service. Service can't make it without sales. We need everything. When we're talking about that empowerment, empowered people need greater levels of satisfaction than just simple financial. If you're thinking that all my people need is their paycheck, you are dead on arrival, because the need to feel that leadership appreciates their contributions and values and participation is what's going to help in your retention rates. Because I can work anywhere. Anybody's going to give me a paycheck, but I want to work someplace where I feel valued and where I feel that I can make a difference. And then that adaptation with bigger workloads, tighter deadlines, everybody wants it now, fast, in a hurry. We have more pressure. We have the temptation to pack in as much as we can and really give our people a whole bunch, overload them. But juggling too many things at once can lead to more mistakes and stress alone and loss of productivity because we're having to go back and do things. So make sure that we are not overloading our people. And then that accountability. You want to be consistent and diligent, and you want to reward the successes, but also have consequences for the people that fall short. That will motivate both people. And we're talking about bringing that team together and what we need for that team. Let's start from the very beginning. Let's start with recruitment. We want to ensure that we are recruiting people that will fit within our team. We want to understand who they are. And then when we bring them on, we want to make sure that we are engaging them properly. And then next, we want to ensure that we are developing them. Because once I have gone through the recruitment piece, so I know I've got the great person, I'm engaging you as an individual, I want to make sure that you're staying on. So I want to start doing that succession planning, that career pathing. I want to let them know that we appreciate you in our organization. We appreciate what you bring to our organization. And the way leaders do that, a way effective leaders do that, is that they engage their people, they connect with their people, and they influence their people. Those are the three things that effective leaders do. And we do this as individuals. We engage them as individuals. We talk to them. We find out what motivates them. We connect with them, meaning we have to have that personal connection in regards to what are your next steps? Where do you see yourself in the future? And then we influence them by being the leaders that we are. We then influence them to do other things, to make those decisions, to go towards our mission and vision statement. As a manager, I always found it the highest compliment when another manager was trying to poach my people, because because I engaged and connected great people in my organization. I would give them that knowledge. I wanted them to move up in the organization. I don't mind having to hire people or bring people on my team because the people that are on my team are getting promoted or they're moving to a different place in the organization. That's fine. I didn't like having to replace someone because they didn't work out and we had to part ways. So when you're thinking about being an effective leader, first is that self-awareness, understanding who you are, and that comes from that leadership report that you all received. And again, if you have not taken our leadership report to find out if you're that visionary leader or if you're that pragmatic leader or that tenacious logistical type of leader, definitely take the opportunity to find out that information. I'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions, while I'm waiting for questions, I'll go ahead and give you that opportunity to take the assessment. And so here on this side here, if you want to take the free assessment, you just click on that link and use the promo code down here. The promo code is 102-720-16. Also, the takeaways, you can, if you need to, download the presentation deck that I went through today. It's there for you. And then next month, I just want to let you know that we have another webinar. It is going to be tips to transition your employee to a leader. So this month, we've all talked about leadership development. So next month, we're going to talk about the employee that you may have on staff if you're thinking about, that succession planning. They're doing well. Let's see if we can move them over into a leadership role. How can we do that? That next month's webinar will assist you in regards to that. If you have any questions, there is my contact information I want to thank you all for joining us today. I see that someone is typing, so it's definitely open for questions if you have anything. Thank you so much, Julie. I do enjoy presenting today, and it looks like we are right at, well, it looks like I'm giving y'all a minute, so you get to leave a minute early. So everybody that stopped checking their emails, you have a minute to check it before you have to clock back in for work. Thank you all so much, and I hope you all join us next month for our tips to transition your employee to a leader. Also, follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Hope you all have a great rest of the day.